and come back to report to you
Thank you very
in
much.
4 years.
Our next question, as Nashville has grown, so has the tension between providing for residents and attracting tourists. For years, we've been focused on downtown development, and it's paid off, but at what cost? How do you plan to balance the demands of development and quality of life concerns for residents? We'll start with Jeff Yarbrough.
I think people in Nashville feel like the growth and development, including some of the tourist issues, are happening to us rather than for us. And I think that's what the next mayor's got to get right and rebalanced. So we have invested a great deal of resources in a tourist economy. We have thousands and thousands of residents of our city who make their living in the tourist industry. And so I think it's not really responsible to create a dynamic where we're pitting residents against tourists. But I do think that we need to see a tourism that we can be proud of. And I think that's not always what we see. So I worked with the tourist sector itself to create new regulations to build a downtown that we can be prouder of, to get regulations for the party buses, to add an additional tax so that you're spending a little bit extra on beer on Broadway so that there's a little bit extra dollars to do cleanliness and safety work there. But I think fundamentally, I want to see a tourist sector that we want to be part of ourselves. We need to see the type of, I wish we had a better family tourism appeal. We should be thinking about our cultural and history and heritage tourism and have that be more of our strategy, because I think the way we brand ourselves to others, also the way we brand ourselves, we think of ourselves, and I think we want to be proud of the city we are marketing to the world.
Thank you. Heidi Campbell.
Are we building a place to visit or a place to live? That is the tagline of my campaign, and that's how I think a lot of Nashvillians feel, where there's been a huge focus on downtown development. You know, when I was a kid growing up, downtown was tumbleweeds. And now it's bachelorettes and pink hats, and it is by far the most active area of our town, but it has very little to do with the Nashville that any of us know. And so we need a mayor that's going to focus on Nashville businesses and Nashville, giving Nashville love going forward, and making sure that we are not focused on out-of-town developers coming in and tourist attractions, but on Nashville businesses and the areas of Nashville that are struggling the most. And that also means investing in our arts. We have a lot of sports here, and that's a good thing, but we haven't put a lot of money and energy and love into our arts programs. And I think that we should have a world-class theater, and we have a great museum, but we need to put more into that, and we need to put more into to arts education as well. So I think that going forward, we need to be focused on building a place to live more than a place to visit.
Jim Gingrich.
So the tourism and hospitality industry is a very important part of the Nashville economy. It is a very important tax generator for our city government. It is in our interest to see that be a sustainable and healthy business going forward. But I worry about our tourism industry because there is just too many things that make me concerned. You know, when folks see tax dollars being spent on stadiums and speedways, they worry about priorities. When a downtown that is supposed to be live, work, and play increasingly becomes difficult from both a live and play standpoint, or just getting down to cultural events, that's a real issue. Once an industry loses the support of the city in which it resides, that is a big danger sign. We need more leadership out of the mayor's office to talk about with the industry, what does tourism 2.0 look like? It does need to be, in my mind, more family friendly, more diversified, involve other parts of the city. Make sure that we know what our brand is and we don't drift from the iconic institutions and iconic venues that were so important to establishing our brand to monster truck events
you.
at, a large stadium.
You. Vivian Wilhoit.
Worry. Could you repeat the question?
Sure. For years, we've been focused on downtown development. The question is, how do you plan to balance the demands of development and quality of life concerns for residents?
So the mayor's job is to grow the city. When you grow the city, it's a good thing. It could be a blessing, but it could be a curse. All right? So when you talk about growing the city, my platform is to have stronger neighborhoods and stronger businesses. You cannot or will not be in a stronger neighborhood if you don't have a good job. You have a good job, you're going to want to live in a stronger neighborhood or a good neighborhood. We can have both. We deserve both. The problem between growth downtown and as serving as a two-term council member is that there is no communication. When I was a council person, it was hard for me to vote for the convention center because the people in Southeast Davidson said, that doesn't benefit me. But in fact, bringing growth to the city does benefit neighborhoods because it helps pay for the services. For the first time as assessor of property, when we did the reassessment in 2017, for the first time in Davidson County history, the commercial assessed value outpaced residential, as it should. That's who should be bearing the brunt of the burden of Nashville. So I do believe that we could have both. I do believe it brings communication, but it needs to be strong for everyone. Nashville has been strong, but it has not been strong for everyone. We must be asking these big companies to pay their fair share if they want to come
Freddie
in.
O'Connell.
Nashville is Music City and always should be. And a few months ago, our family was lucky to catch a performance of Opry at the Ryman. And it was great. We had actually taken a friend from out of town there. And she was a visitor to the city, and she loved it. And then we pulled out of the parking garage right across the street from the Ryman Auditorium, where a party bus was blaring a song whose lyrics I will not repeat on television. That's not the Music City that I'm talking about. It's not the Music City that's the Music City of the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, the Schermerhorn Symphony Center, the National Museum of African American Music, all of which are downtown developments. It's not the Music City of the Jefferson Street Sound Museum, or Studio A or Studio B, a part of Music Row, that are popular tourism destinations. We don't have to leave on our Bachelorette's welcome sign. We can turn it off. And this is part of the issue. The CVC and state have partnered on the stadium deal. They've partnered on the NASCAR deal at the fairgrounds. And we don't have to accept these deals. Even this term, we're still working on that. As mayor, when we considered the stadium deal, we literally heard the finance team describe it as a Las Vegas-like destination event. And I thought, I don't want that. I want more Ville, less Vegas. And that's what we're going to work on when I'm mayor. And the principal job of the mayor over the next 4 years is going to be to invest in ourselves, because that goes back to the cost of living things. The cost of living and quality of life are together.
Thank you. Alice Wilson.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful what we wished for. About 6 years ago, when I was in leadership, Nashville, the head of our Convention Visitor Bureau, said to our class that he wanted Nashville to be the adult entertainment destination. And as someone growing up here, I thought, I didn't know with young children, did I actually want that? But it seems like we made it where we aimed. Here's the challenge that we have now. We know downtown is unsafe, both for our tourists and for our residents. We know that the Convention Visitor Bureau says we have a roofie problem. We see people from all over the country end up having an experience here in Nashville that is not the Nashville we want them to remember, that most of their time is spent filing a police report for stolen money when they were passed out. I would say that the experience economy that we have built is important to Nashville's role as the music city. We know that artists' royalty and streaming is lower now, and that live performances are an incredibly important aspect of music monetization. But we've got to bring our Nashville Chamber, not just the Convention Visitor Bureau, but our Nashville Chamber that has fled the downtown, and our commercial property owners that own a massive amount of downtown property to reset the balance. Otherwise, we will end up with empty office buildings, rising crime, and a Nashville downtown that no one wants to go to.
Thank you. Matt Wolf.
So, Rory, downtown, let's set the table here a little bit. Downtown represents 0.4% of the acreage of Davidson County, generates 12% of the property taxes, and 26% of the sales taxes. It is an incredibly important economic engine for our city and employs tens of thousands of our neighbors. So it is important that to make sure that that is a sustainable part of the engine that can help create sidewalks in neighborhoods, affordable housing, and the best performing public schools in the country, we need to make sure that it can be a safe place for folks to continue to visit. We need to make sure that there is a balance between the live and the work and the play. I grew up in Nashville, graduated from Hume Fogg High School, and when I looked down the street, there was nothing happening down Broadway. Nothing. There was no Bridgestone Arena, there was no Skirmerhorn, and there were no visitors. So we've tried not having it, and I am not saying we need to boom even more. We need to evolve the tourism industry in Nashville to make sure there are more things for families to do. I'm very hopeful about an arts district on the East Bank to diversify what we have and to bring more of a balance between the live and the work and the play. But folks who say we just need to turn off the lights and tell everyone to go away mean that there will be a lot of people who are unemployed and declining value in the city, and that's not what we want either.
Sharon.
Growth is created to help the decline. What we have is a problem that because it has not reached every part of Nashville. Now, Michael Jordan is downtown, and he gets his points, but he's got to get Scottie Pippen in the game for North Nashville, Dennis Rodman for East Nashville, Tony Kukoc for South Nashville, and Steve Kerr for West Nashville. We need those ambassadors using that economic, and then they need a coach, Phyllis Jackson, because we need a change. Okay? There's time for a change, someone that can monitor and make sure that everybody gets in the game in order for us to be able to have the championship team, the champion city that this city deserves. We've got to spread the wealth, and we've got to be intentional and deliberate about doing so. I would have an economic development department with 4 ambassadors for all of the quadrants to make sure that the money that we are receiving is being distributed evenly, because a rising tide lifts all boats. And it is important for everyone in Nashville to benefit from the exponential growth that we are seeing. That's the problem that we have. We've got to change it. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and I am the change that this city needs.
Thank you.
Speaking of development, the mayor's office has pushed 2 high-profile projects